mainly for the sales team to take care of your closing the deals and onboarding the leads and so it's mainly pre-sales to closing the deal. And support Zendesk is mainly related to the support tickets and all. So once your customer is onboarded to a platform, you get a support tickets and all those things stuff. So your support team usually do not get a view of the sales details and all. So here using DronaHQ, we'll build an internal app which will enable the support team to view the sales information. So let me share my screen. So I need the access of sharing my screen. So
yeah, I'm just giving you an access.
All right, Fenil, you have an access.
So now here we have a DronaHQ platform. So let's start off by adding a blank app. You can create from pre templates, but let's start with this. So let's call the app Support Genie. So it will connect HubSpot plus Zendesk. Let me just pick one of my items. Yeah. So we have created an app now. So first of all, what a support team will need is the list of tickets which are there. So I'll quickly add a few details of the app. So let's call this app. Let's name this view tickets and call it index. Which will be getting the tickets from. So first of all, we'll add a table grid control, which is a list control that will populate the list of tickets. So I'll add a data option. So in the connector, if you see, since there are no connectors, it's empty. So I'll add a new connector over here. Let me search for Zendesk. So here we'll get a list of tickets from this API. So we'll add a Zendesk connector. So I already have a Zendesk login in my browser, so it will not ask me to authenticate again. So let me just give a name. So subdomain is actually my subdomain in Zendesk. So I'll just copy this and paste this. And email ID is the agent email ID which you have signed up with. And API token, I'll need to quickly create it from my settings channel. API it's open. I will click on add API key. So this I will copy the API key and then quickly paste this. So now my Zendesk connector has been added. So now I can use it for calling multiple APIs. So here we'll have to give a name that it's user-friendly name, and that's it. Our connector is added. Now we need to bind this connector to the newly created connector to get tickets, and the keys is something we want to show to the user. So usually for tickets, the primary thing is to show a ticket number, the subject, description, priority, status. Now what we want to connect, that who has raised the ticket, right? So we'll take a requester ID, which is basically a ID we'll need uh, to get the email ID of the requester, whoever is raising the ticket. So let me save this now. So you can even update the label of the columns of the table grid. So I'll add ID. So others also we can do it similarly, and I'll just hide a particular column requested ID, since its relevance is only specific for our internal purpose to get the email ID. So I'm hiding this as a visibility. So now let's preview this, and let's see uh, the currently open tickets in this. So here, if you notice, the header label got replaced, and I guess the ID is not updated. Sure. So and so now, if you see, the status and the priority are not looking that well. So what I can do is format status and priority. So let's call it a tag and status as well. So let's give colors to our status. So we had two types of status currently, open and pending. So let's give a blue color to open, and let's give a pending color to red color to pending. So
And we don't have any
now
closed ones.
it's just a test data. So if you
I
see,
know. Just kidding.
yeah, I'll just show you. We all only have 3 tickets, but yeah, we can have those closed ones also. So, yeah. So
Sure.
now
No
let's
worries.
preview our format options. So now if you see our priority and status, so it's looking like a tag over here. Since we have not given option colors for priority column, it's looking like plain tags. But the status, the one which we have given colors, open and pending, those are coming as blue and red respectively. So now next what we'll move on to is that there are various actions and detail views of the table grid control. So let me go to the property option, and here you can see there are various pre-built actions which are there. So these are mainly for your admin panel kind of use cases. So here we don't have that use case, so we'll keep that off. And what we can do is we can enable a uh, action called so mainly, let's say on clicking of a particular ticket, we want to see the details or deals of that particular Zendesk from HubSpot. For that particular user, we need those details. So let's call that plan, we can say. So let's call that, and we can give a icon. And there are various options, like on single select it should appear, or for multi select, or for both. So since we'll have a single ticket click event, we'll have that. We can even have that show as a column, and add as a column is something which shows as the last column. So that is, if that's your use case, you can enable this. Okay, so let me save this. And there is one more property to view the details of the particular card, as in the particular row item. So let me check the detail view property. Just a minute. So I'll just enable the detail view. If you see, there's a arrow appearing over here. So the idea of detail view is the whatever formatting you have given on the table grid data, the same will get applied to the detail view card as well. So let's preview this. So you see that the detail view appears and the formatting shows over here. And the action shows as a hover item. So now the
Well, do
click
you also
action,
want to just show a larger screen by just
yeah,
looking at,
yeah.
yeah, just show, like,
So
if it
yeah,
is a
yeah,
larger interface, like maybe a
yeah,
tab or a desktop, this is how this would look. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So I'll keep this web view as a default view now. So I think it will be easier to view as well. So in the building also I can do the same as a desktop view. But I think it will not be that quick. So let me switch to a mobile view. Uh, yeah. So now next thing is we have added an action. We'll have to navigate to a new screen. So I'll add a new screen over here. Let's call it a blank screen, and we'll name it view blank screen. Let's have a header setup. This will get it from HubSpot. So let's just head it over here. And the back navigation, left icon navigation would be navigate to the previous page, screen one, which is. So we'll come to the screen later on. So going back to the first screen. So as I said, we have added a get deals action over here. But if you see, the requester ID is not a email ID which we expect. So what we'll be doing now is getting the email ID from a particular requester ID. So for that, we will add a data store control which acts as a local database. This will be used to store list of users. So let's call it get users list basically. So in the data option, we'll go to connector. So we'll have to add a new API for Zendesk get users. So you'll find a subcategory over here. So get users list. So usually there are three types of users in Zendesk. So mainly our current use case is related to end users. So I'll select that part and I'll click finish. So now the important point to note here is the data store. So we'll bind this API, and mainly we need an email ID. So that's the key we need. But requester ID is the one which we'll be comparing it. So I'll add a user ID as well. So I'll save this. So now the important point for data store is it stores a list of data. But if there are more than one data, you can have all rows properties checked so that all the items in the data store get selected when it is referenced to another control. So I'll come to more on that later on. But just so that we have added this data store, we can hide this as well from the UI with the hidden property. So let's add a text control just for checking that our email ID is working fine or no. So let's call this email ID field. All this is will be binding the email ID. So whenever a particular list item is clicked on table grid, a particular requester ID will get selected. From there, we will filter out from the user list to get the email ID. So here I'll have to open a custom formula for this. So there is a filter function which does local filtering. So that it works for data store. So what I'll do is data store unique name is user list. So I want user list dot users dot email is what I need, but my condition would be where user list is equal to the table grid unique name dot the requester ID. Right. So let's see this how it's progressing. So I'll click on play. So by default, it's an empty array. I'll select a particular row. Oh, I guess data store let, let me see if the connector is saved correctly and all those properties checked. Yeah. So let me just unhide for a minute just to see if a loader is appearing over there. Let's click on it. Yeah. So a loader appeared when I click on this. Some so let me just simply check the list, the data of the data store in this. Yeah, so we are getting the data users.id, email and ID we are getting. So in the table grid, there should be a selection property. By default, it is selected. Checkbox, yes, and action will never select true. So maybe this property is causing a problem. Let's verify this. Hmm. So data store we are getting values. Filter is where we are facing a problem. Table grid. This condition works. So let's verify this. This 3823 belongs to, yeah. So I guess there is some
And
issue
then
with the filter function.
there is another function if you want, I can
Hmm.
just help you with that can allow you to extract, the email ID from this, right? So if you would want, there is something called as find, function called as find table grid, right? I'll just share that with you and see if you want to create a custom function and use that. That will do
Okay.
the job, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It just in case. But if there is some, if you know some other way, please go ahead. But this is something I feel this can work and rescue you in the current moment. So just give me a second. In the meantime, Fenel, do you want to go ahead and go ahead and find the values from
Yeah.
HubSpot while
Yeah, yeah,
while
we'll do that. Right.
sure. So yeah, Fenel, please go ahead.
Yeah. Sure. Oh, sorry. The problem is over here. The condition is users.id is equal to requester ID. I'm comparing email with user ID. Yeah, sure. So let me delete this. This is no longer required. Sorry about that. Let's review this. So let's select a particular user and we got the email ID of the customer. So you see this email ID based on the selected requester ID. So if you have noticed, there was a array. It was showing like array. So text control has a inbuilt property to remove that array into a CSV value. So let's do just that. We can hide this as well. This is just so that for our implementation purpose, we had enabled it. And coming to the second part where we had enabled the action for this, uh, just give me a moment. I'll just connect my charger.
Hey guys, in the meantime, if you have any questions, please feel free to put it up into the chat. We will definitely try and take them up if we have time left.
So coming to the action part. So as we had added a action one and we had given a particular get plan name. So there is another way to quickly set up a navigation using the selection event. If you see, there is a navigation action over here. If I do a navigation with selection, I can simply select the screen to navigate to. But just so if you want to do more advanced actions, we'll cover the custom action part using action one get plan. So I'll click on action one. It will open an action flow, and I'll select the server side navigation option, navigate to, and I'll select a view plan, and yeah, that sorry, that's about it. Let's give a action. Sure. So now, since we have this action setup, we can go to the second screen where we haven't done anything as such as of yet. So now that we got the email ID, HubSpot as well has a some concept called Hubspot ID. So all internal APIs works with Hubspot ID. So from email ID, our next goal is to get Hubspot ID. So let me add a text control. Let's call it uh, Hubspot ID, and we will need a connector for the same. So let's go to connector, add a new connector. So Hubspot, and here we'll search a contact in a so I'll connect a Hubspot connector. Since I'm already logged in, it will not ask me to log in. So if you have more than one account, just select account you want to connect to, and yeah. So here my account got added. Let me select the account. Yeah. So now get Hubspot ID. Let's give the name, and we'll search in email since we have an email ID. So let's take an email ID of the previous three, and the operator would be equal to. So once we get this, we will bind this Hubspot ID to our Hubspot ID control. So results dot ID. So this will give us a Hubspot ID. So going to the first screen, let's see it in action up till now. So in a real scenario, we can hide all these fields. So once I select this, uh, you see this, right? And once I click on this action, it navigates to this, and we got the HubSpot ID over here. Now our final goal is to get the deals, right, of this particular user. So again, we'll have to add a data store control to get all the deals first, and then we'll filter out the deals based on the HubSpot ID. What is the deal name? So I'll go to the connector. Let's add a new connector.
So while you do that, right, Fenil, just in case, if HubSpot, if we had an API from HubSpot which lets us filter exactly the deal that we are looking for by giving the HubSpot ID, right? In that case, in that scenario, maybe we did not really need to bring in all the deals and rather just get a very, very specific deal, right? So it all depends on how pro are we with HubSpot and its APIs and whether that API in a way exists or not. So yeah.
Right. For a HubSpot, deals are more interest is the deal name. What is the deal name? But will be filtered based on the contact HubSpot ID. So it's basically results.id. So I'll remove those other two extra keys and let's save this. So again, like we did earlier, we'll have to enable the property, all rows property for this data store. And let's just have a display the deal of this particular user. So let's filter this like we did earlier. The control name. We are interested in the deal name, and what we'll be doing is where data store dot the contact ID is equal to the HubSpot ID. So let's save this. Let's see it in action. So I can do a direct navigation from here to here. Here we got the HubSpot ID, and if you see, we got the deal name as well. This user belongs to a business plan. Similarly, we can see for a different user, this user belongs to a pro plan. So if we want a friendly way of displaying, we can simply disable the show raw property of the text control, and it will show this properly. And we can even have this hidden, or we can show this as a read only so that no one looks at it. And yeah, so I'll just finishing up. As I'm just hiding all the stuff so that we can see the app in action. This is read only, and we'll hide this. And let's preview this. I'll make a bigger view. So let's select. So we got business plan for this user. So now we are good. We can publish the app, and then all done. Deals for customers. So now this app is ready for our internal consumption, as an internal support team can access it in any of the web app or mobile apps. So let me just log in with one of the user of this account. This is our app in action. So I guess we are ready in 30 minutes with this app. So like this, we can extrapolate to different use cases, and possibilities are numerous.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Fenil, for showing around. We have about 10 minutes left, so would be very, very happy to take questions, if any. But in the meantime, Fenil, you might also just want to quickly show how, like, same things could have been done using maybe, one of the templated screen, two with two columns, or maybe two columns with tabs, either of the two, right? Just to make sure, like, if you want to start begin with, like, building very serious application, right? It might not just be just looking at the plan, like what you have, what is it the customer would have purchased. You might want to have both these details side by side in tables alongside, so that you guys can your customer success executives have a better view and they can handle customer queries way faster, right? So there are ways and means to get that particular thing going as well. So maybe Fenil, are you there?
Sure. Yeah, yeah, I'll just
Yeah,
share my screen again.
sure.
Let me close this. So there are various, like Janine mentioned,
So Fenil,
various templated apps.
may I suggest if you can just go directly into the same app that you were building and you just use a screen instead of a blank screen, maybe a screen with
Okay.
maybe multi-column or stuff like that.
Okay.
So we had some questions coming up. One of the questions that I just have right now is HubSpot integrations are also available on Zapier, and how is this different? I think the major difference over here is I think with with those things, right? With your Zapier control, maybe you'll not be able to chain the APIs together, right? And like we said, right, we wanted to first thing first bring something from Zendesk and then eventually chain it up with HubSpot and then build a view together, right? So that's something that that you guys can do pretty well in something like a DronaHQ. In the meantime, here is in case if you want to build things side by side, same things that Daniel just did, maybe in less than 5 minutes, we can just show how we could do it more aesthetically, right? And then the idea is we could obviously this can have multi tabs, so and again with the rules that you see on the left hand side, you can hide and show different things here. So for example, if you're clicking on customer data on my left tab, right, and on my right tab I want to see all the all the support tickets that they have raised, and on another maybe you can add another table down there to just see what different things as your customer purchased from you, right? So if in case you're looking at adding multiple tables or multiple different data, so I mean data views that you can really add onto your screen and bind it to the necessary data sources with the help of connectors, and you can really create a very elegant an admin tool in no time. And then you can add ton of actions on top of it, for example, it could be if it's a refund case, for example, or a return scenario, you could just click on a return and there we go. So just add a button on somewhere and press on request a return, and this can go to your ops team. Or if all the return has already been processed, you could just go about processing it, right? So that's typically the idea, right? So while we are at it, here we go. So this is just trying to show the same things in a much better way. So as you could see, what we just did is just made this little bit more aesthetical, maybe with a customer success team. Right now, similarly, here you can configure two tabs, tab one, tab two. Tab two can have, again, we can rename these tabs, right? The simple way to rename is just go and add some static points to that. So tab one on my right hand side could be ticket details, and tab two could be my my purchase details, right? So if I just go on my right hand side of the second tab over here, right, I can just change
Right.
things pretty
So
much.
just to give an example, so I every formula or we apply under the hood, there is a formula involved. So just to give an idea, if tabs tab 1, then use this formula, else use a different formula. So I'll just remove few of the keys over here. For tab 1, for tab 2, if you see, there are only 2 columns, 3 columns. For other
Right.
condition,
So
yeah.
yeah, so this is just a quick glimpse around like how you could configure this in a better way. Just to let you guys know, next Thursday we have a very elaborate session coming up, wherein we are going to go through building such admin panels in a much more uh, I would say cleaner way, add UI UX to it. So if in case if this would be of your interest, please do register for that program as well. So that's coming up again same time next week on Thursday. So we would love to see you guys there as well. Right. There are no more questions. Is there anything that you want to add to conclude, or we are good?
I'm good.
Excellent, great. So thank you very much for joining us today. I hope the session was useful, and we would see you again on next Thursday, same time. Thank you very much. Have a lovely day, lovely evening, depending on where you're joining us from. All right. And we just
Thanks,
added the
everyone.
link for the next week onto the chat panel. In case if somebody would just like to go ahead and use it, just go ahead. Thank you very much.